There comes a sacred moment in every soul's journey when silence breaks, when the long nights of waiting begin to make sense, and the invisible currents that stirred beneath the surface finally rise into view. You've prayed not with your lips alone, but with the depths of your spirit. You've waited not idly, but with quiet trust. And now the blessings you once imagined, the desires you dared to claim in the secrecy of your heart, are beginning to unfold in your outer world. What you are experiencing is not a coincidence, it is not luck, it is law. There is a perfect spiritual order that governs your reality, and every prayer, sincerely felt and faithfully assumed, is fulfilled by that order. You may not have seen the signs at first, but now the signs are seeing you, doors opening, hearts softening, paths aligning. This is the season of your answered prayer. But to truly receive, you must understand how and why these blessings arrive not through chance, but through consciousness, through the quiet act of assuming what is unseen as already yours, through the inner vision that holds steadfast even when the outer world gives no sign. You must come to know that the world reflects what you are, not what you want. This message is not merely to uplift you, but to educate you, to awaken you to the truth that what you feel and believe within becomes what you experience without. And now, as you begin to live from the end as one who already possesses the blessings once hoped for, you become the vessel through which the divine pours itself into form. So listen closely. This is not just a moment of inspiration, it's a revelation. The blessings you prayed for are not on their way, they are here, and they've been waiting for you to realize it. ChatGPT said, when you prayed, you weren't simply uttering words into the air, you were planting something sacred into the fertile ground of your inner world. Every true prayer, when it rises from the heart rather than just the tongue, becomes a living seed. And where is that seed planted? In your imagination, the divine field where all things begin. This isn't a metaphor. Imagination is the very womb of reality. It is the space where unseen possibilities are shaped into eventual form. When you feel your prayer as already answered, when you dwell in the sensation of its fulfillment, you activate the seed. Most people pray from a place of separation. They ask for what they don't believe they have. But true prayer is not asking, it is assuming. It is entering the state of being where you already possess that which you desire. To say, I am healed, while imagining disease is to contradict the seed you hope to plant. But when you say, I am healed, and you feel the ease, the peace, the restoration even before any outer evidence, that is when the seed takes root. Your imagination is sacred. It is not make-believe. It is belief in the making. Every thought you feel with intensity, every scene you replay with emotion, every image you hold with consistency, all of it is tending the soil of your life. If your prayers are seeds, then your sustained imagination is the water and light that helps them grow. Nothing blossoms without your participation in its unseen stages. You must nurture what you've planted with patience and trust, knowing that the spiritual world responds not to empty words, but to inner certainty. That's why repeated begging, pleading, or worrying delays the harvest. It's like digging up the seed every day to see if it has sprouted. You must plant your desire once through faith-filled imagination, and then dwell in the state of its fulfillment. You do not return to the field to question the process. You simply live as if the blessing has already unfolded. This is not self-deception. It is spiritual alignment. So remember this. The moment you sincerely prayed, the moment you accepted the outcome within, your blessing began its journey toward you. You may not see it yet, but it is already forming. The prayer was not lost. The seed did not disappear. It is beneath the surface, growing quietly, waiting for the right moment to break through the soil of time and space. Your job is to trust the process, to remain in the emotional atmosphere of answered prayer, and to know with deep, calm certainty that what you planted in the unseen will soon appear in the seen. Because it always begins there, not outside you, but within. The truth is, what you believe within yourself matters more than anything happening around you. Your inner conviction, your deep, quiet knowing, is the foundation upon which all outer manifestation rests. It's not the loudness of your words, but the stillness of your certainty that shapes reality. Many people speak about their desires, yet continue to live in a state of doubt, worry, or disbelief, and in doing so, they unknowingly delay the very blessings they seek. But when your belief becomes unshakable, when you feel something as true before there's any visible proof, you activate the spiritual law that governs all creation. Conviction is not built on outer evidence. It is the cause of outer evidence. It is the invisible mold that reality pours itself into. To be convicted is to live from the end, to carry the feeling of the answered prayer as if it were already a memory. In that state, you no longer hope it will come. You know that it has. The blessing becomes inevitable because you no longer seek it, you have become it. And this shift in being is what sets everything in motion. There is a sacred power in assumption. When you assume your desire is already fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are aligning your consciousness with the reality that already exists in the unseen. Spiritual law is not bound by time. The moment you embody the feeling of having received, the prayer is answered not in some distant future, but in the eternal now. Time is simply the unfolding, the bridge of incidents that carries the unseen into the seen. But the cause, the seed, is your conviction. This is why people who truly know something is theirs don't chase it, force it, or fear losing it. Their energy is calm, confident, and magnetic, because the inner state creates the outer response. If you carry uncertainty, the world will mirror confusion. If you carry confidence, the world will begin to arrange itself around your certainty. Everything bends to match the vibration of your dominant inner state. The universe doesn't respond to wishful thinking, it responds to felt reality. So ask yourself, what do you truly feel to be true about the thing you've prayed for? Not what you say, not what you hope, but what you live from, because that is the real prayer. That is the signal you send out. And when that signal is one of completion, of gratitude, of inner wholeness, then the blessing begins to take shape in your world. Your outer life is a reflection, not an origin. It reflects your dominant assumptions. So change the assumption, and the reflection must follow. Walk in the energy of fulfillment, and you will find the blessing was never far, it was waiting for your inner conviction to welcome it home. One of the greatest spiritual misunderstandings is the belief that if something doesn't happen immediately, it isn't meant to be. But the truth is, time is not a punishment, it is preparation. Time is not the enemy of your prayer. It is the womb in which your blessing matures. When you pray, believe, and assume your desire to be fulfilled, the seed is planted. But every seed, no matter how powerful, needs time to germinate, take root, and grow before it becomes visible. This delay is not a denial. It is divine orchestration at work. From a higher perspective, everything unfolds in perfect sequence. What seems like waiting is actually alignment. Your life is being arranged step by step to match the state you've assumed. Circumstances, people, opportunities, all are being moved, reshaped, and redirected in unseen ways to meet the energy of your prayer. But because this movement often happens behind the scenes, the human mind interprets it as silence or stagnation. It becomes restless, doubtful, and tempted to abandon the vision. That is where most people interrupt the process by stepping out of the state before the blessing has a chance to arrive. Just like a pregnant mother doesn't doubt the child is forming because she cannot yet see it, you must trust that your prayer is developing in the unseen. You wouldn't dig up a seed to check if it's growing. You simply water it, protect it, and wait in joyful expectation. That same trust must exist with spiritual manifestation. Your faith must stretch beyond what your eyes can verify, because what is coming is greater than what you can currently comprehend. The truth is, time is not there to test your patience, it is there to strengthen your identity. The waiting period allows you to become the version of yourself who can receive and sustain what you've asked for. If your consciousness isn't yet aligned with the weight of your blessing, the manifestation will either be delayed or rejected by your own inner resistance. So, time is not a delay in delivery, it's an invitation to transformation. Each day that passes is not time lost, it is time given to you to deepen your belief, to walk in the feeling of the fulfilled desire, and to become more anchored in the state of answered prayer. Your job is not to make the blessing happen. Your job is to remain in the atmosphere of its inevitability. When you do that, you begin to see how the right pieces fall into place, how the right moments unfold, and how the seemingly impossible becomes reality without your interference. So honor the time, let it be sacred. Understand that just because you cannot see movement doesn't mean there isn't growth. The invisible hand of the divine is always at work, building bridges, opening paths, and softening hearts. What you've prayed for is not being withheld, it is being perfected. You are not waiting for your blessing to come from outside, you are becoming the version of yourself who already has it. The law of consciousness teaches that you do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. You are always becoming, through your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions, the vessel through which reality takes shape. So the question is not, when will it arrive, but rather, who am I being right now? Because who you are in consciousness is the blueprint that life responds to. Imagination is not a passive activity. It is the creative engine of your reality. What you continuously and deliberately imagine yourself to be is what you ultimately experience. If you live in the inner movie of success, peace, love, or abundance, and you do so with sincerity and emotional presence, your world must begin to conform to that image. The outer world is not leading you, it is following you. It echoes your inner state. This is why imagining from the end, meaning from the state where your desire is already fulfilled, is such a powerful practice. It shifts your identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone hoping to receive, you become someone who has already received. You stop identifying as the seeker and begin to embody the one who has found. In that shift, you attract every condition, person, and opportunity that matches your new self-concept. Many people make the mistake of using imagination like a wish list, hoping that life will change while their identity stays the same, but this does not work. You cannot think from lack and expect abundance to appear. You cannot feel lonely and attract deep connection. You must live internally as if the reality you want is already yours. That is how the spiritual law operates, not on effort or struggle, but on alignment and identity. This isn't about pretending or faking. It's about deliberately choosing to dwell in a state that brings the desired experience into being. Just as a thermostat doesn't create the temperature but signals what must happen, your inner state doesn't force the world to obey, it informs it. Your assumption is the signal, the response is automatic. You are not forcing outcomes, you are allowing reality to mirror your internal truth. The key is repetition and feeling. When you consistently return to the state of the wish, fulfilled when you imagine scenes that would naturally unfold, if your prayer had already been answered, you begin to form a new emotional baseline. And from this place, you not only attract the blessing, you become it. You walk with the energy of fulfillment. You speak from wholeness. You radiate completion. This is how transformation happens, not by chasing, but by becoming. You become what you continuously imagine yourself to be, and once you fully inhabit that state, the outer world has no choice but to respond in kind. Gratitude is not merely a reaction to receiving something, it is a spiritual strategy, a creative force, and a state of being that magnetizes your desires toward you. It is one of the most powerful emotional states you can cultivate because it assumes completion. When you are truly grateful, you are no longer reaching, you are receiving. You are no longer doubting, you're dwelling in the felt reality that what you asked for is already yours. Gratitude, when practiced before the outer manifestation appears, is a declaration of spiritual maturity. It says, I trust the invisible, I believe in the process, I know it is done. Many think they need a reason to be grateful. They wait until something changes before they offer thanks. But in doing so, they unknowingly delay their blessing. They place gratitude after the manifestation, when in truth it must come before. The grateful heart is a receiver. It is open, expectant, and ready. It is not looking for evidence, it is the evidence. When you begin to feel grateful for something that hasn't yet appeared, you are declaring with your entire being that you already possess it in the unseen. And according to spiritual law, what you consistently assume in feeling must externalize itself. Gratitude shifts your frequency. It lifts your mind from the state of longing into the state of fulfillment. It calms the nervous system, softens resistance, and aligns your thoughts with peace. This alignment is not emotional fluff. It is the condition in which the prayer finds its way to you. When your heart is filled with thanks, even before the blessing takes form, you send a signal to the universe that says, I have received. And when that becomes your natural emotional tone, you step into harmony with the blessing itself. On the other hand, when you dwell in a state of complaint, impatience, or lack, you repel the very thing you seek, not because you are being punished, but because your emotional state is out of alignment with the outcome you desire. You cannot hold the feeling of emptiness and attract fulfillment. You cannot complain and call yourself receptive. The law is exact. It delivers to you not what you want, but what you are conscious of being. Gratitude also increases clarity. When you are grateful, you begin to notice the small signs, the subtle shifts, the quiet doors opening that others miss. You see the hand of divine order arranging things for your good. You celebrate the process, not just the result, and in doing so, you multiply your blessings. What you appreciate appreciates, what you thank expands, so live in thanksgiving. Give thanks for the answered prayer as if it already surrounds you. Walk, speak, and think like one who has received, not out of force, but from the quiet joy of knowing that what was once a desire is now a reality in motion. Gratitude is not only the response to a miracle, it is the atmosphere that births it. There is a quiet intelligence moving behind the scenes of your life, an invisible hand arranging, shifting, preparing the path ahead of you in ways you cannot yet see. Just because your physical eyes do not witness instant change does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, some of the most profound work is done in silence. The forces that govern manifestation do not require noise, drama, or constant confirmation. They respond to faith, assumption, and inner alignment. Your blessing begins the moment you believe, not the moment you see. Often, people pray and expect the answer to burst through the front door of their lives. But more frequently, it comes subtly as a conversation, a new idea, a shift in perception, or a person entering your life unexpectedly. These seemingly small moments are not random. They are the architecture of your answered prayer. The divine works through the ordinary, layering events, nudging thoughts, and placing you exactly where you need to be without forcing anything. This is the artistry of unseen grace. When you begin to trust this process, you stop doubting just because the blessing hasn't arrived in the form you expected. You begin to recognize that it's not about controlling how it happens. It's about remaining aligned with the feeling that it is happening. Your assumption, your emotional acceptance that the desire is fulfilled sends a spiritual command. The universe, in response, begins to shape itself around your inner state, not your outer effort. There is no need to push or chase. The unseen hand works best when you step back and allow. Your job is not to figure out every detail, but to embody the version of you who already has the answer. The more you hold that state, the more reality conforms, circumstances begin to bend, conversations shift, people who once ignored you suddenly take notice, opportunities unfold that you could never have planned. But these movements are not random, they are the echo of your assumption, and even in moments when everything appears still, remember that spiritual manifestation often works in layers. Just like a masterpiece is painted one stroke at a time, your blessing is revealed in stages. The outer world may still look the same, but something underneath is transforming. The energy has shifted, the signal has been sent, and all that remains is for the visible to catch up with the invisible. So release the habit of looking for signs. Be the sign. Live as if the blessing is already yours. Trust that there is more occurring on your behalf than you could ever calculate. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. The very moment you aligned with your prayer and feeling and belief, the wheels began to turn. What you've asked for is not in delay, it is in delivery. And soon, what has been moving silently behind the scenes will stand fully revealed before your eyes. Now, you understand the blessings you prayed for were never far. They were never delayed by denial, nor lost in silence. From the very moment you planted your desire in the sacred soil of imagination, the answer began forming. Not through force, not through chance, but through the law of consciousness, through your willingness to feel, believe, and become what you have asked for. The process has not been random. It has been precise, governed by your inner state, and sustained by your willingness to remain faithful even when no sign appeared. You've learned that prayer is not pleading, it is assuming. It is dwelling in the state of the wish fulfilled, not merely speaking about it, but living from it. You've seen how your conviction creates the path, how time does not block but births, and how imagination, when nourished with gratitude, becomes the channel through which all things are made new. Gratitude before the evidence is not foolishness, it is spiritual wisdom. It affirms what is already true in the unseen, and now the unseen becomes seen. The invisible becomes visible because you've aligned with it. You've stopped waiting for life to change and started being the change. You've realized that nothing outside you needed to shift until something within you shifted first. And that shift is here. You feel it. You carry it, and because of that, your world must reflect it. So go forward with calm expectancy, no longer hoping but knowing, no longer asking but thanking. Walk as the one who has received. Speak as the one whose prayer is complete. See your world not as something happening to you, but as something unfolding through you, because now you understand the truth. Your blessing has arrived, not because it rushed toward you, but because you finally became still enough to receive it. It is done.